Dear friends, we are thankful to Dr. S.K. Kapoor for accept our request to initiate us about the values of CRPC. Let us begin.
It's a really a blissful moment that we are revisiting once again the values of Code of Criminal Procedure. The very fact that it is designated as a code means it is giving us blissful insight as that it is going to be complete in itself. Statute is the word which is associated with the provisions of the Constitution. Codes is the word which is applied to big legislations which cover a complete domain of law. A particular domain which is exhaustively covered is normally said to be a code. And normally the code is also a act like any other act. It is an act. It is an Act number 2 of 1974 of our Parliament, but it is designated code as it is exhaustively legislated provisions for a particular domain of law, which is here the criminal procedure. To be through the values of this code, we have to have this code in our hands. It is a very big legislation. Let us have the code in our hands. This code is Act number 2 of 1974, and it came into force on 25th of January 1974. We shall bear in mind that since this date, this code came into commencement, came into operation, it was operative since this date. However, the provisions in respect of the proceedings of the procedure prior to this date were being governed by the Code of 1988, which was in operation, and Section 84 of this code makes it specific as that the proceedings immediately before this date will continue under the previous code. Anyway, we are for the present concerned for initiation to have an appreciation of the values of this code, which came into force from 25th of January 1974. Every code, every act has its preamble. Therefore, let us first of all revisit the preamble of the Code of Criminal Procedure. It reads as
Sir, in this book, the book CRPC is there before me. Here it says 1st of April. I think there is 1st of April 1974 is correct, or 25th January is correct?
You see, date of commencement is notified by the government under this code.
Okay, sir.
This code is legislated and has become law on 25th of January 1974. However, the different provisions, the commencement dates for different provisions are vested in different governments and different institutions. So from that point of view, as to which provision has come into force from which date in which area is a different aspect altogether. At present, at the initiation stage, we are approaching this code from the point of view as to when this code has become an act. It is an Act number 2 of 1974, which was duly authenticated by the President of India on the 25th of January 1974. As such,
Right, sir.
it is said to be a code of the year 1974 as Act number 2, sanctioned on 25th of January 1974. So this date is important as such. However, the provisions of the code itself provide at different places with respect to the commencement and authenticity of operations of different provisions vested in different authorities, and those authorities like the central government and state governments, they notify, and so the dates of those notifications as such will become the dates of commencement of operations of the specific provisions with respect to which those notification stands made under the authority of this particular code. We will come to it when we will come to the provisions. So here, when we approach a particular act, then we approach it from the values enshrined and enunciated in its preamble. So preamble of the code, act or statute, here in this context, Code of Criminal Procedure, reads as under: an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to criminal procedure. So it is, in fact, is consolidating as well as it is amending. This consolidated process means to bring entire range of provisions under one umbrella. It is this one act which is exhaustively covering in the form of consolidation. So as the criminal procedure provisions have been consolidated, so such acts which consolidate are designated as code. However, it is just a conventional way of putting up certain acts as acts and certain acts as in a code. This code is running into as many as 484 sections, and it is followed by two schedules. First schedule is giving classifications of the offenses with respect to the cognizance, bailable, jurisdiction of the courts, etc., etc. The second schedule is covering the different specific forms in which the particular petitions, applications, processes are to be issued lawfully under this Act. These 484 sections are organized in 37 chapters. We are beginning with chapter 1. This chapter 1 is titled as preliminary. So the preliminary provisions are covered in sections 1 to 4. So chapter 1, titled preliminary, is of the range of section 1 to section 4. These 4 sections, in fact, though titled preliminary, but in fact these be taken as essential preliminaries, because it is in terms of it that many basic foundational features stands legislatively settled. Like in section 1, the title is short title, extent and commencement. So these 3 features, what is going to be the title of this code, how this code is to be named, how this code is to be communicated, referred, and it is said to be, this act may be called the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Therefore, in the petitions, we have to give this full name of this code, this act, Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Many times, just under certain situations, we in common parlance start referring it as criminal procedure and we write CRPC. We don't put it in its full form as Code of Criminal Procedure. It is saying to be CRPC is just colloquial. So the petitions shall designate this code and its provisions by the name as it is allowed, as it is legislative, as it is sanctioned. And the sanction is that this act may be called the Code of Criminal Procedure, 1973. So the year 1973 as well is part of the name of the code. So wherever we have to refer to this code, we have to refer it as Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. No abbreviation, no shortcut is allowed. It is not going to be a lawful petition if the petition does not mention it that it is going to be under such and such provision of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. We can't write as CRPC only. We can't write it Code of Criminal Procedure without giving the year as well. Year is important as the date of commencements are there, legislative sanctions are there, and the subsequent amendments are also come into operation from the dates of amendments, etc., etc. Therefore, the first thing to be kept in mind is that when we are going under the provisions of this Act number 2 of 1974, then we have to be specific in our petitions as that such and such petition for such and such a relief on such and such grounds is being made under Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Here we need not mention it as an Act number 2 of 1974. The Act number 2 of 1974 is a reference with respect to the legislative part, legislative sanction, and the date 25th of January 1974 is in respect of the seal put upon it by the President of India, and it stands authenticated as lawfully completed legislation. But when we are before the courts, before the authorities, with respect to any proceedings under this code, then we have to mention it, the petition under section so and so of Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Now, the further provisions of section 1 itself are regarding the extent to which area of India this act is operative, comes into operation, and from which date, at the date of commencement of the provisions, and the area to which it stands extended as well are specifically legislated and are given in section 1 itself. Here for the present, we are not going into the specific areas and the specific dates on which the particular provisions of this code have come into operation in a particular area. Say, in Jammu and Kashmir, this act has come into operation since what date, and how the proceedings prior to that date with respect to the criminal procedure will be dealt with as well is going to be a specific issue. It is going to be of great concern. However, for the present, we are not stopping ourselves at this phase. as we will come to it afterwards. The section 2 of this code is very, very important, as here the definitions have been legislated. The words legislated in this section as definitions is said in this code unless the context otherwise requires. So it is the basic interpretation class. As such, we have to simultaneously go for the statutes interpretation law as well. We shall also simultaneously acquaint ourselves about the way the statutes are interpreted. The interpretation of statutes is a big value. It is a very sharp weapon. It is in terms of this value, it is in terms of this sharp weapon that we shall be advocating, we shall be presenting our cause, and it is in terms of this interpretation we will be being confident about the success for the reliefs we will be approaching and we will be appearing before the courts. Therefore, the word in this code means the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. In this code, unless the context otherwise requires. Therefore, these definitions are made subject to the context. So a particular word, when is to be interpreted, the first it is to be given the definition as it is legislated here. However, this definition is subject to the context. So at every step, we have to be conscious that the word which we are using be taken on the face of it as it is as per the definition specifically given, legislated in section 2. However, the word used is to be interpreted in the context in which that word appears. Therefore, the normal rule is that when we use a particular word, then we take it that it will be interpreted as is defined in section 2. However, if we feel that in the context the particular word shall have certain additional features, then we shall try to specify, make it specific, make it explicit in our petitions to avoid any confusion about it. And one is not to presume that context will be automatically accepted by the opposite party or even by the court. Therefore, the art of drafting petitions under the Code of Criminal Procedure shall be given proper attention with respect to the words being used in the petition. The words say bailable offense as definition 2A. It says means an offense which is shown as bailable in the first schedule or which is made bailable by any other law for the time being in force, and non-bailable offense means any other offense. So here, bailable or non-bailable as such has no connotation whether one will get a bail or not. Bailable offense or non-bailable offense as per this definition simply means that whether the offense in the schedule is first schedule is classified as bailable offense or it is classified otherwise, means the bailable offenses are classified. So this classification as per this definition is simply referring to the classification in the first schedule. Tomorrow we shall be taking up first schedule because the very first definition is pointing it specifically that these words are meant for having the clauses specific. So clause specific words given a specific definition, section 2, are in the context to be interpreted as these are meant for making the particular clauses to be of those particular meanings. So we in our referencer shall open and say that code, statute, and act are different words. However, these all the three, though in practice applied differently, statute for the constitution, code for the big acts which consolidate the entire law domain, and the other acts. But in the eyes of law, these all means legislative enactments, lawfully enacted provisions under the Constitution of India or acts. These are acts. These may be called codes, but these may be called statutes. So that is why it is specifically mentioned an act to consolidate. So the preamble begins with an act to consolidate. Therefore, in our referencer, first word shall be an act. The second word should be code. So we shall be specific as that the code is nothing but an act. However, this code is this very act, which is Act number 2 of 1974. These all things are to be borne in mind as at different points of time these may cause much confusion and it will come in the way of getting particular interpretation for the particular provision, for the particular relief at particular stage of particular proceedings in courts. Therefore, in our referencer, we shall make it specific, act, what it means, and code, what it means, how this act and code in the context of this code of criminal procedure are going to be one and the same thing. There, the second thing is that we shall begin with the definitions. The first definition is 2A. It is about bailable offense. And this bailable offense means an offense which is classified like that. It has no other connotation whatsoever. It has no connotation with respect to the bail as such. The bailable offense, as per the definition, is simply a label for the offense which stands classified in the first schedule in the column of bailable offenses. Like that, the word charge, it says includes any head of charge when the charge contains more heads than one. So here the charge is a composite word. It is a plural features. It has number of heads and each head is also designated as a charge. So charge is to be of many heads. There may be many different strings flowing out of the common source. Each string, each branch itself is designated as a tree. So taking charge as a tree of many branches, then each branch as a charge is also a tree. Now, this word charge and the need for definition will help us appreciate that the procedural codes, like substantive codes, are very specific, as it is the specific meaning for the particular word which will help reach at the proper trial results. Therefore, like this, then the next word is cognizable offense. Cognizable offense means an offense for which an cognizable case means a case in which police officer may, in accordance with the first schedule or under any other law for the time in force, arrest without warrant. So the word cognizable offense takes us to the powers vested in the police officer of an arrest. It is this arrest power which is the center, the focal point of the word cognizable offense. So classification of offenses as cognizable offenses and as non-cognizable offenses as such results into the powers of the police. So this word cognizable offense here, as it is defined, is centered around the powers of arrest vested in the police. Except this word, as per its definition, has no other meaning or implications. As said at the outset, in this code, unless the context otherwise requires, means when the word cognizable offense will be referred in any petitions, say even in a bail petition or in any other petitions, then it will be made specific that whether this word cognizable offense is being used as defined in respect of the powers of a police to arrest, or in the petition given the word cognizable offense has other reference, meaning, implications, values, or context. Therefore, while drafting the petitions and while making a choice of the words, particularly the words which have been defined in definition 2, in section 2 as definitions, we have to be very specific, because unless the context is otherwise would mean that unless and until we clarify that in which context we are using the word, it would be taken as that the word is being used as is defined in the section 2. So in our reference, we shall make the list of the words which have been defined in section 2. Now, these words are large in number. There would be many other words in the code which, though apparently are not specifically defined in section 2, but otherwise those words in the context in which those have been used in different provisions of the code will also get specific meanings. Therefore, as first principle, we shall take that every word used in this code is a word of specific context, specific reference, specific meanings. This is called the technical dictionary. So in our referencer, we have to make a, a technical, we are having, we shall in our referencer make a section of the technical dictionary. The technical dictionary would mean the technical words having technical meanings, means having specific meanings, having meanings in reference to the context in which those words have been used in the code. Therefore, when we are making a referencer for ourselves, means we are making a referencer in the context of code of criminal procedure only. The technical dictionary or dictionary as such of the code of criminal procedure will be of different connotations than the dictionary in the context of other legislative provisions. Therefore, we have to be very specific about the context, about the reference, about the features, about the meanings, about the values in which we are using particular word. Now, I just go to the section 4 for the obvious reason that the code of procedure, this code of criminal procedure, as is enlisted, enshrined, pointed in the preamble itself, it is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to criminal procedure. And the criminal procedure in reality, in the context of a justice, comes to be the procedure to be adopted during trial of an offense. So section 4 is titled Trial of Offenses under Indian Penal Code and Other Laws. Let me stop here. Let me have a pause here and point out that though it is mentioned trial of offenses under Indian Penal Code and other acts, but when we go through the provision 4.1, it says all offenses under Indian Penal Code shall be investigated, inquired into, tried, and otherwise dealt with in accordance with the procedure hereinafter contained. So here the word trial, which is used in the title of section 4, it would imply in the context of the provision of section 1 that here the word trial includes investigation, includes inquiry, includes trial, and also includes all other ways in which the offenses are to be dealt with as per the procedure legislated here in this particular code. So here is a pointed example as to how the words used are to be taken in the context in which these are used. Section 4 is titled Trial of Offences under Indian Penal Code and Other Laws. So if we have simple reading of this title, here trial of offences will naturally imply what the trial we accept. But when we go through this clause, it reads, all offenses under the Indian Penal Code shall be investigated, inquired into, tried, and otherwise dealt with. So the word trial used in the title and the word trial used in the body of the section itself is much different. The word trial used in the title is all encompassing, including investigations, inquiries, and trials. However, the word trial used in the substantive provision is distinguishing itself from investigations, inquiries, and otherwise. Therefore, the use of the words shall be conscious use. This conscious use is not to be implied, it should be made specific. If in the particular context, the particular word is to have particular meanings, then those shall be specified in the petitions, and it is this specification of the context in which particular word is being used will be ultimately helpful to interpret the same and to convey the context in which one wants to convey it. Therefore, let us now sum up today's initial observations that this code is a code as it consolidates all the procedures, all the provisions regarding procedure. Second thing is that its name is the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. The next thing is that this code has a specific section for definitions, and particular list of words have been taken up and have been provided the definitions. However, this definitions clause has made itself specific that the definitions being given are subject to the context in which those have been used. As has been illustrated in section 4, that trial of offenses would mean all encompassing, starting from investigations, inquiries, trials in courts, and otherwise the proceedings like revisions, appeals, and all other contexts in which the offense is to be dealt with properly as per the procedure established by law. Therefore, from tomorrow, when we will be taking up first schedule of this code, then we will be confronting ourselves realistically with respect to how the investigations for the powers, inquiries for the forums, trials with respect to the jurisdictions of the courts, and the other provisions of appeals, etc., are to be separately tabulated by us, and by having separate tabulation of the separate provisions of this code, we will be having more specific comprehension of the different procedural aspects which we need to learn, and we have to ultimately apply them for the practical justice to be obtained during judicial proceedings and other proceedings. Now I request, please share with your observations, comments, queries, posers, and all. Yes, Subhash.
Uncle, it was very enlightening and probably in our day-to-day activities we ignore many things which are actually essential. So now probably as late as yesterday we were keeping the word continuously using CRPC 1973, but now as you rightly enlightened that it has to be specifically mentioned that it has to be Code of Criminal Procedures 1973, which I think from today onwards we'll have a very clear understanding and we'll keep using the specific word in all our petitions and whatever submission we make to the court. And at the same time these definitions are really useful and enlightening. And then as you mentioned that tomorrow we are going to have the schedule 1, I was just mentioning that tomorrow's session, when you are going to throw light on the first schedule, which I think within itself is quite exhaustive and will give us a very elaborate understanding on what is bailable, what is non-bailable, and what are the sections which are specifically mentioned in Schedule 1 with regard to the provision of congregable, non-congregable, likewise. So I'm sure that tomorrow's session is going to be very, very interesting, which will further enlighten us to have a deeper understanding of CRPC. So with this, I thank you for your time you have spared for us and given us an insight about CRPC and the job done by Amit in terms of preparing the slides also was very useful. So I'm looking forward to your tomorrow's session, Uncle.